Hello everyone and welcome to Quick Course, the channel that you watch because the guy from Crash Course is talking a little too quickly for you to understand. And the topic for today's video is joints, or more accurately, the joints in your body, assuming you're a normal human being. So joints are functions between the bones of your body, and they are classified by the degree of movement that they allow. This is why you have immovable, slightly movable, and freely movable joints. But they're more commonly classified by the type of tissue, which is the fibrous tissue, the cartilaginous tissue, and the synovial tissue. Now let's begin with talking about fibrous joints. So, fibrous joints lie between bones that are closely connected with one another. And it is very important to note that fibrous joints do not have any appreciable movement. Yes, although there is a very, very small amount of movement that occurs in the joint between the tibia and the fibula, it is also really important to note that it is not a really appreciable amount. So, some examples of fibrous joints are the sutures in your skull and the joint between the tibia and fibula. Cartilaginous joints are articulating bones that are connected with either hyaline cartilage or fibrocartilage, and this allows for limited movement when the back is bent or twisted. And some examples are the bodies between the vertebrae in your spine and also the joint between your pubis. Now, one other very important thing about joints are the function that they have. And we don't often think about the function in our daily lives. If we were to walk, for example, to class and demonstrate that, simply the act of walking, we are using joints for that. I mean, of course we are using tons of other things, but in walking, in running, jumping, whatever it may be, we are using our joints immensely. Can't really imagine life without them because we've had them, and they aid in so many movement that we do. And even things where we don't exactly think we're moving, such as if we're taking the test in class, we lean over a little more. Well, we are using cartilaginous joints to bend over our desk. So we can see that even the simplest things, our joints do have a huge impact on that, and how functional our life can be. Now let's move on to synovial joints. So foremost, synovial joints actually make up most of the joints in the skeletal system, but they're also really different because they allow free movement and are more structurally complex. But they also have something really special. It's known as synovial fluid, and it acts as a lubricant between the bones. And this can even contain shock-absorbing pads of fibrocartilage known as menisci. So there are 6 kinds of synovial joints, and I've put tape over myself to show where an example of each is in the upper body. So, first is the ball and socket, and that would be here at the shoulder. Then there's also condyloid, which would be at the phalanges, right here. And there's also gliding, which would be at the wrist, hinge, which would be at the elbow, and also pivot, which would be under the elbow here, proximal to the radius and the ulna. And then there's also saddle, which only occurs in 1, but technically 2 places of your body, 1 for each thumb. So now that we've talked about the different kinds of joints and briefly talked about function, we should learn about some of the diseases. And the most common disease is arthritis, which is an inflammation of the joints. And there are 2 large types of arthritis, which are rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. So, rheumatoid arthritis is the most painful and is inflamed and thickened synovial membrane, while osteoarthritis is degeneration of the articular cartilage, and this is caused by aging. But there's also one other very large disease that I'd like to talk about, and that is osteoporosis, So osteoporosis is a weakening of the bones and specifically enlarging holes in the spongy part of your bone. And this is very common with older women and is very dangerous potentially because it can be very easy to fracture a bone this way. Well, we all know it's one thing to have heard something and then being able to apply it or actually saying that you've learned it. So I have a couple of visual examples to help. So first up is the cartilaginous. And this is cartilaginous because it is in the vertebral column and is made up of fibrocartilage. But we also have the fibrous joint, as shown by the suture here on the skull, and this is an immovable joint. And then lastly, we have the synovial joint, because we can see the joint cavity and it's filled with the synovial fluid. So, if I hold up all of these, you can see the difference in structure between each of them. And this makes it a little bit easier to differentiate between each of them. Now, because I here at Quick Course do believe that education should be fun, I have prepared a series of jokes that I hope you will find humorous. So, why are skeletons such bad liars? Because you can see right through them. Why are bones always so calm? Because nothing gets under their skin. How do you know if a spine finds you funny? It starts cracking up. Where do you learn about bones? Osteoclast. And lastly, why do skeletons get sick on windy days? It's because it goes right through them. So now for the credits. And Quick Course is produced, thought of, and everything's by me. Yeah. However, I got the idea to create a parody for my project of Crash Course, and they're a phenomenal channel if you want to check them out. And then, all the information today came from this textbook. It is Hale's Essentials of Human Anatomy and Physiology by David Shearer, Jackie Butler, and Ricky Lewis. It's the 7th edition. And I think that's it.